The big challenge we're going to have is to make sure that we're able to stay the course. I mean, the city has gone through some pretty dramatic things in recent years in hopes of getting to a place where the city is no longer in this vulnerable, unsustainable place. So whether it's the fiscal house, the public safety, the economic development front, there have been a lot of sacrifices leading up to now. So the biggest priority is to make sure that all those sacrifices were for a reason, that those people didn't endure all those things, and then we're going to go back to not having, for example, the fiscal discipline that we need to have. So keeping those things on track is going to be quite the challenge for us. Well, we've always known that by the time we get to the final portion with the trial, that's the part that has the most twists and turns, if you will. So we're fully prepared to do all of those things as we work our way through the trial, but we do still expect that we're going to have things wrapped up this year. Well, at the moment, it's very good. You know, that's true. That's a good start. You know, so it's really premature to say, but I can say that with all 7 of them, there's been a real cognitive effort to make sure that we minimize the distractions with the recognition that the actual work we have in front of us really takes all of our energy. And whenever we get into these side battles, it's just energy that we really can't afford to waste. Actually, it's ahead of schedule. So at the moment, separate from Measure A, we've still had some vacancies within the police department that we're trying to get sewn up. We're just about nearing the end of that component of it there. So that's when the 120 officers from Measure A comes in. But finding, recruiting, doing the background for 120 officers is a daunting task. By comparison, if you looked at that 120 officers by themselves, as a separate department, it would still be the largest department in the county of any of the cities. So it's a pretty daunting task, which means we're going to break it up and look at doing 40 hires per year, or at least a net of 40, because we still will have some attrition. You know, in the last couple of years, we've hired about 130 officers, but we've only netted 30 because of attrition. So we're going to continue down that path. Measure A hasn't actually begun to even be collected, let alone having us receive the actual revenues from it. But in anticipation of that, and in recognition of the momentum we've had right now with the hiring, the council did last night authorize us to move forward to start the early process of getting some of those hired. In best case scenario, we think we can hire as many as 8 officers within the current fiscal year. But the plan is to keep moving forward as quickly as we can, but we're not going to drop the standard, so it still takes us a while to get folks on board. And then we also have the issue, once they're here and they've been to the academy and they've been backgrounded, they still require some field training work. And that's also very labor intensive. So we have a limited number of field training officers to get them squared away as well. Well, once we are on stable ground and we're predictable, for starters, we can get to the place where our workforce is not worrying about what the future holds. And once we have our workforce in that comfortable place, they're able to be actually more productive. So we think we're going to get more productivity out of our employees because it's been a very, very difficult few years for them. So as long as their head is you know, wondering about what's going to happen next and am I going to be okay, they're really not able to put the same amount of energy into their work. As we move forward and we can demonstrate to them that things are going to be okay and that they're going to be safe, we're able to get so much more productivity out of them. as we're able to get past some of the stigma of the bankruptcy, we're able to make some additional inroads into things like economic development. And while the crime rate is reducing in a dramatic way, we still have a long way to go. And more importantly, the perception of that crime rate has a very long way to go. So as we're able to get that perception down and get the reality down of our crime statistics, then our economic development tools are able to kick in. And that's really where the long-term viability for the community lies. But at the end of the day, we've got assets that nobody else has. Between the port, the freeway system, the proximity to snow and ocean and everything else. So we've got a whole lot of things that are very desirable. And as soon as we can get rid of some of those obstacles, get on a stable path, we're going to be able to really take advantage of them.